I have been coaching for 30 years, so I know how many great resources there are out there. I tried to bring them together at teachhoops.com. Let me help you become a better basketball coach. All sorts of great resources on there. And even the best part is the community, the one-on-one calls with me, office hours, you name it. You know, I've been there. You can see behind all the balls. You can see a couple of my players have played in the NBA. I am here to help. I am here to serve. So go over and check it out. Click above, down below, teachhoops.com. Enjoy the video.
All right. Welcome to Coach Unplugged. All right, Rick, you don't need an introduction because I've had you on the podcast like 3 times. But why don't you just quickly introduce yourself? And then I promise I won't make fun of the 18,000 layers of read and react, but that confuse me on a regular basis.
Okay.
But
well, my last edition was in response to folks like yourself. You know, I condensed it down to 10.
10. Yeah. I'm down to 3 or 4 is what I'm down to. But it's like, yeah, I wish.
Well, that's all you need.
Yeah, that's all you need.
You only need about 3 or 4 to have a working offense.
You don't. And the issue, and I've had this discussion with you, the issue is they get one of them down and that's all they want to do.
Right.
So breaking them of that habit is really hard.
Yeah, you just got to lead them on. And many times it's the defense that will force that, you know?
Right.
Like,
right.
You know, when defense raises their level and they can help and recover on stuff, then you got to say, well, look, we've got to have a counter move to that. So that's what the next layer is.
It is. So let's talk about the world we're living in right now. And, you know, what do you think coaches can do to help their players through this kind of world right now?
Well, you've tossed me a softball here.
Okay.
You set me up. All right.
Well, that's good. I didn't.
I've got something that could help right now. And it's just funny how this worked out because we released the Stages program last fall. And of course, it was not complete. It's still not complete. If I waited till I had everything in it that I wanted, it'd be a couple of years from now.
Well, you would never, like I've told people with my business too, you would never release anything if you only released when it was done.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, because I'm never happy. Yeah.
That's the nature of this business.
Yeah.
You know, you build a car while it's rolling down the road, you know.
Well, that's what teachers are doing right now. We're talking about we're building a plane while we're flying it. Yep. Like we're trying to, before you and I got on, I was dealing with like some students and I had a call with my colleagues. And it's like we're trying to literally fly a plane in 3 weeks while it's flying. You know, teachers all over the country or the world are having to do that right now. So
right. Well, let me give as short of an explanation of the Stages program as I can because we're giving it away right now. So I want to come back and talk to your listeners about how they can get it. I mean, it's pretty easy. Go to betterbasketball.com and you'll see at the top a blue strip that says, hey, during this, COVID-19, go here and train for free. And so all they got to do is follow that. And I'll talk more about that in a moment.
And is that for coaches or is that for players to do that?
Coaches and players. But coaches, we went through the coaches first. And eventually we're going to go straight to the players. But right now the coach is kind of the gatekeeper. So, so let me back up to this past fall. See if I can give it to you as short as possible. I don't know if I can. You know me, long-winded. My original, the reason I came out with the Stages program was most coaches just don't have the time to personally train every player. Okay.
Right. Or they can't. Like I can't. Like
it's not legal.
Rule. Yeah. By rules. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's one problem. Second problem, because I'm trying to solve multiple problems at once. Okay. At that time, is I wanted parents, players, and coaches to be on the same page. How often have you got into a discussion, let's put it that way, with a parent about where their player is. They have this really high opinion that they've got a Division I high school player, right? You know differently, okay?
Right.
And the player is somewhere, they don't know.
They
Okay?
don't know. And
No,
yeah,
they're
most of
listening
them don't know. Most of them just love playing, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what I wanted was something that would remove any kind of subjectivity. Okay. I didn't want just a training program. There's plenty of those.
Right.
What I wanted to create was something that you could test and measure, and the players could not advance through the progression of tests.
Through the stages.
The stages,
yeah.
right, until they
Right.
pass each test. If you can think of something really simple like free throws, which is a subcategory of shooting, okay?
Right.
I have 7 stages plus an ignition stage just to help players get started, okay?
Right.
Plus, ignition is for those that have, probably never touched a basketball, or they have, but they've never like worked on their game. They don't know what this means to.
Free throws are the easiest shot in basketball, in my opinion.
No, absolutely.
Because it's the same. It doesn't matter where you shoot a free throw, in Wyoming, in Hawaii, in Hungary, in Italy. It's all the same. I mean, I'm just saying, it's the only shot that never changes. Like, even a layup changes. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
The problem with the free throw is just what you said. It's both. It's both.
Yeah.
Okay, because all the other shots you take in basketball are in some kind of rhythm.
Right.
And suddenly they stop the game. They put you on a free throw line, and they say, we're not asking you to dribble in here and pull up for a jumper. We want you to take your time and target shoot. Standing still, not jumping. I mean, I think that's what makes it difficult. Well, anyway, if we took free throws as an example, my top stage is you've got to be a 95% shooter. My stage 7, so I'm starting at the top now, not the beginning, is you've got to video yourself making 19 out of 20 free throws with unbroken video. No editing here, okay?
Right.
All right? So there's just no way around it. Now, as you go down, of course, like stage 6 is 90%. Stage 5 is 85%, and it works its way on down, okay? In other words, you've got to make the shots. I mean, I'm sorry. There's no way
to fake it. There's no way to fake it. Yeah.
No, I wanted something that's that you can't cheat.
Right.
Okay. And so I mentioned the video thing. And each one of these are really short, by the way. Most of them are 2 minutes, 3 minutes long. The player, and I'm going into this backwards. It's okay, though. The player watches the test on their phone. It takes like 2 minutes to watch it, and then they go do it. If they can pass it, then they record themselves, and they press upload right there on their phone, and it goes to our server, which notifies the coach, and the coach goes in on his end or her end and pulls up the stage's program, and hey, there's the video, and they can watch it. They can comment on it. They can make it an automatic pass so the player can just go on, or they could manually pass and fail. Like, something, how it is, like they might technically pass a test, but you might find something in their technique. It's like, you're missing the point of this. I need you to go back and land on 2 feet rather than a staggered step. I know you made the shots. So we built that in so that coaches could be the gatekeeper if they want to on all of the tests. Okay.
Right.
But for most, and this is our experience so far, it's just a great way to give an attaboy and an attagirl. The kid knows you're watching them work out. There's no way around it. Look, if you don't get let's say I'm the player and you're the coach, Steve.
Yeah.
If you don't see me uploading tests, there's no way around it. I'm not working on my game.
Right. And as a teacher, I'm telling you the difference between this and then going and watching a YouTube video is it's the interaction. So I've noticed this with even my online teaching is like, there has to be a two-way communication. There has to be like, they do something and then they get feedback. If they're not getting feedback, there's no reason for them. Now, the top 2%ers will do it just because they're going to do it. But the rest of the other 98% need some sort of that good job. Do this, fix this, do this. Yes, I agree.
So the coach goes in to you go to Better Basketball, you go in, ignore anything. If you see anything that says it's $2.50 per player or it's $4 per player, what that refers to is ultimately in the end, that's about what it costs a player to train.
Right.
Okay. I mean, it's super duper cheap, but the free trial is free to the coach, free to the players, as long as we're in this situation.
Oh, are you sure you want to say that? Because we could be in this situation for a long time.
That's true. Well, we're doing it by the month.
By the month.
We're giving them a month. But I myself talking with Dan, we said, something, what if this lasts 2 months? I said, well, we're just going to keep on helping as long as.
Because I mean, the problem is kids can't like they can't even go play right now.
No.
The only thing they can do, and I've said this to my players, the only thing you can do is work on you at this point. You can work on your mental aspect. You can read. You can work on meditation. You can get stronger, quicker, faster. Right. You can work on things like this. You can work on your individual stuff now. That's all you can do.
Yep.
Because that's the world we're living in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, now last fall, I'll tell you what, let me complete that big picture.
Okay. So how many different, so you gave free throws. What else is in the category?
Great. See, let me back up. Let's go from the beginning.
Okay.
Ignition only has 9 tests in there. And it's
so ignition is the people that haven't played.
That's right. Let's just hook you into getting better, show you a little success. My shooting test in there is basically technique and can you make the ball drop on a line? You don't have to be on a goal.
Right. Okay.
Can you shoot the ball straight? Some ball handling stuff. Okay. And
so there's a lot of people that will, like a high school player would skip that stage. Probably.
Yeah. Well,
no, you don't have them skip.
If they could go through it, it'll take them 5 minutes.
5 minutes
to be done.
Okay.
But what I've done, Steve, and the reason I want players to go through it all is, as you know, in the game, there's a lot of terminology that needs to be picked. There's a lot of college players that have holes in their game.
Right.
I would want college players going through this to fill in the gaps, because my stage 7 is this. If you can pass that, you're going to be a very competent, you could be a very, very competent collegiate player at some level.
Right.
So that means not many are going to be passing stage 7 if you look at the numbers that go on.
Right.
From high school to
some
level of college, JUCO, NAIA, Division 1, 2, 3, NCAA. It's a very small percentage of players that actually go on. So if I've set this up right, stage 7, it has 170-something tests in it. And the reason is, I'm trying to answer your question about, besides shooting, what's in there. Back in Ignition, there's just a couple of things you're doing. Ball handling and shooting, just getting started. But then as soon as you get in stage 1, the categories increase. So there's shooting, dribbling, there's now passing, there's now one-on-one.
So is there just a side note before we go any deeper, is there stuff that they're going to have to skip that they can't do by themselves?
Oh, excellent. Good question. We have, so as you noticed, I mentioned like 4 categories there, right?
Right. You meant, yeah, that the passing one was like, holy crud, how am I going to pass if it's just me?
Right. Yeah, you need a partner. Well, now you could get a mom or dad to
That's
receive
true.
it,
That's true.
or a brother, sister, something like that. Even some of these, I think you could pass off of a wall.
Okay.
Okay.
Is
But
passing the only issue that they would have doing it by themselves?
oh no, there are others, because
Okay.
the higher you go, as you go up these stages, of course, the amount of categories widen, and
Okay.
it gets to 10 or 12 different categories, and of course, each you start getting into some.
Hey coach, so glad you're enjoying the video. Make sure you subscribe. That's important. Second thing is make sure you go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. You will not be disappointed, I promise you. It's everything you need to become a better basketball coach. Go over and check it out. teachhoops.com. Let's head back to the video.
One-on-one stuff and ball screen stuff, and you need a partner. You need a defensive partner. Sometimes you need 3, sometimes you need 4, sometimes you need 5, because you've got an offense and defense and an offense and defense, and you got someone else that's got to pass it. So yeah, as it gets higher, it's more complex. However, we've set it up to allow a player to just work up a single category.
Okay.
As an example, ball handling, I think you can go all the way to stage 7 without any partners.
Okay.
And so there's plenty of those that you can just go as far as you can go, by yourself. Now, there's 576 tests in the basketball side of it, the basketball skill side of this. And the reason, I don't want that to overwhelm anybody, the reason for that is
a big number.
They are in such small increments, because the player there's no one there teaching them. You're watching it on video. So you can't get too complex in your teaching. You got to do this in really small bite sizes.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. You eat an elephant one bite at a time. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. And so now, 3 days ago, we just released the speed, the athletic side of this.
Okay.
Because it's one thing to be able to have the skills, but hey, Steve, how many players have you seen that, like, man, they're like great shooters, they can handle the ball, they can do anything you ask them to do with the ball, any kind of move, okay, but they're not fast enough, strong enough to play at the next level. Maybe even at certain levels in high school, they can't defend because they're not strong enough, they're not quick enough, they can't separate from the defense, or the flip side, they're not strong enough to defend.
Right.
On the perimeter or the post, So, sorry, but that's just part, athleticism is part of this game. So what I did was I recruited a guy named Tucker Herzberg, who is, wow, I can't even tell you all of his credentials. We did a webinar last night with him on it. And, but he's worked with University of Maryland's basketball team. There's another Division I team he's worked with. He's got all the degrees. I gave him the basketball stages, and I said, now this was a heck of a challenge. And I said, Tucker, I need you to match speed and agility, strength, and vertical jump with my stages in basketball. In other words, let me give you an example. Let's say in stage 4, I'm asking the player to drive, encounter a help defender, jump off the inside foot, sweep over with the ball, so you're now moving laterally, land on 2 feet in the middle of the lane, and then unfold and twist to finish with the opposite hand on the other side of the goal. That takes,
a very unique.
I'm not an expert in that kind of body control. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what I wanted Tucker to do is to have, if that was in stage 4, I want in stage 3 for the player to have been trained and passed all of the athletic testing it takes to do that.
Right.
So I'm not going to.
Oh my God. How long did it take him to do this?
Oh man.
That's harder than your job. That was harder than your job.
I agree. 100%, Steve.
I mean, it is.
It really is because, well, so see, that's all I told him. And then he went through and said, okay, I'm going to have to split this up into 3 different categories. And he, like I say, one of the categories is speed and agility. And then in there are all kinds of subcategories of hop, jump, skip, all, all this stuff. And then there's vertical jump, and then there's strength. Here's the good news about this. There's those wound up being 218 tests total, and we were trying to make a guess, Tucker and I, because I got to edit them, and I think we're talking about 60% of them are all body weight stuff.
Right.
So 60% of everything. I know the speed and agility, you can go all the way to stage 7 and never touch a weight or a piece of equipment.
Right.
You can do all this. And I actually think it's more than 60 because some of this stuff, like he's got stuff you do with a small medicine ball.
Right.
Well, you don't really need a medicine ball. Take a bag at home, stuff it with some stuff, get a little 5-pound weight in your hand.
Yeah.
You're holding on with 2 hands. It takes nothing.
A bag of flour. Don't use a bag of flour, but something like that. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Something, like dumbbells. He's got a thing on dumbbells that you're jumping and leaping with dumbbells. Hey, for most kids, you can go grab a can of pork and beans from your mom's kitchen,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Have 2 of those and do everything. So it's really only in stage 6 and 7 when he does stuff like resisted sprinting, with bands and ropes, or assisted jumping where there's bands and things like that. That you might need some equipment.
You might need to buy a band. Yeah, those aren't bad.
Even hopping over a hurdle. Come on, get a little cardboard box and sit there and jump over.
A sibling. You can jump over your sibling. Yes.
There you go. There you go. Right. So
are these intertwined on it? Like if I'm on stage 1, do I see everything on stage 1? Do I see the basketball and that, or are they separate entities?
They are separate entities.
Okay.
But like for the coach and player, like the coach, when you pull it up, here are the 7 stages on one page. Here are the 7 stages of basketball. And then right underneath it, it says training. And there's the 3, athletic ones as well. So, yeah, we felt like it might be there was just some possible confusion and some technology problems with putting those in there together. So I think it's a good thing. Like right now, if a kid doesn't even have a basketball, hey, then go do your speed, agility, quickness, strength, and vertical jump, and stay in shape. And you're still going to be communicating back and forth because you've got to upload these videos to your coach. Okay. And most of these, Steve, are acquiring the technique, okay, for all the physical training.
Right.
They're not actual workouts. So, but all the kids got to do to make it a workout is just add some repetition.
Right. And it doesn't need to be at this point, it's like, how do you open up? Basically playing defense is 3 steps. It's 3 steps. How are you interacting in those 3 steps?
Right.
And that's where the mobility, that's where the strength, that's where all that stuff comes. But it's not, for most of the time, you're not taking 17 steps. You're taking 3.
Right.
And if the person gets by you after 3 steps, then someone else on the court's not helping you, or something else is going wrong at that point.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've still got to add the defensive side to stages. So like I say, it's going to take another year or 2 to get everything that I want in there to train the total player.
So go through how long the specific stuff would take. Like let's say a kid gets this and then goes and starts on the first one you said takes like 5 minutes, that intro one, right?
Yeah.
Then
right.
and then so like stage one, like how long will it take them, a week to do it? How long?
Oh, no,
like
we
because it sounds like stage 7 is like it will take you a long time to get through stage 7. But how
well,
long
yes,
does
it will, just from the numbers, you
Right.
know. But so if you can picture this as an inverted pyramid, you know, it's small
Right.
at the bottom and then it widens as you go up. And the reason I can't really say how long it would take is I fully expect, I mean, it's self-diagnostic. What's going to happen is you're going to hop in, and let's say that you're already a stage 3 player, you just don't know it. You're going to go through ignition, stage 1, stage 2, in probably, you know, right now during this quarantine, gee whiz,
I
you
know.
got time to do this. Yeah, you could get through those 3 stages in maybe just a few days, not
Right.
even a week. But what's going to happen to everybody, well, 99% of everybody, is you're going to run into a level, a stage where you don't just pass it on the first try. And what that's done is it's self-diagnostic. You now know where you need to work and exactly what you need to work on. So you may get to stage 3 on, let's say, post play, you know, back to the basket moves, that kind of thing, which is, I make everybody do this stuff. Okay. But you know, you're shooting, you've just gone quickly through and you're in the middle of stage 4 before you don't pass something, you know, and you bump up some. And then ball handling, you may have gone into stage 5 before you run up on something you can't do. You know, maybe it was stage 4 or 3 was the last stage where you passed everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
Well,
how do you think the motivation to keep going through the stages? Oh, this is easy.
Oh,
I can
excellent.
do this.
Excellent. Well,
I've taught long enough that I can just hear them right now. Oh, I can do this. This is stupid, coach. Why am I
right.
doing this? Blah, blah, blah,
And,
blah,
and,
blah. Because I want
this
to
is
get them
why,
to the stage. I want to get them to the stage where they have to have that growth mind. They have to have that growth mindset that they have
that's
to
right.
like, whoa, this is hard.
Yeah.
To get them through those first 3 is not going to be as easy as you think.
Right. Well, what we do is, and this is part of an ongoing thing. I think Dan's got this ready at the moment, is points and badges, notifications. In other words, every time you pass the test, you get like a certain number of points.
Right.
And we're building leaderboards
Okay.
that you could have as a team, and also like we want like a national leaderboard if you want to be on it.
Right.
And compete against everybody over the nation, you know. So if you do, I think the way he's got it constructed is if you complete all 7 stages, it's 10,000 points.
Okay.
You know.
Right.
So we're trying to video game or gamify it as much.
You almost have to. You almost have to.
Yeah.
To get them, to keep them moving.
Right.
What do you think the hardest skill is, or hardest level?
Wow.
I mean, I think footwork's a horrible thing, but I'm not sure that's a level. I think kids' footwork, it's a hard thing to teach and a hard thing for them to master.
Right. Well, I do think, footwork is such a part of almost everything. I think some of the more difficult things are that players will find, most players. Now, I'm trying to paint with a broad brush here.
Right.
And by the way, I'm going to take shooting out because I still think shooting is, look, I've got some pretty high demands in the shooting categories, okay? And it's not just target shooting, okay? This is shooting off the move. This is shooting off of 1-2 footwork. This is shooting in a hop. This is moving, receiving a pass and shooting.
Okay.
This is mid-range shooting. This is 3-point shooting. This is, okay, it just goes, every possible kind of footwork that would occur in a game is there. Is in there in the shooting, okay? So, but I would think, I'm painting with a broad brush, that the finishing aspects, I've got a finishing category that I think is going to surprise most players.
And is that something they can do by themselves?
Yes, I think you can if you've got a good imagination. Now, I like having a partner there because it's a certain read off of a partner. However, like I don't have this in front of me, but let's say at stage 2, I'm asking them to, we're in the finishing category. I don't have a defender. It's just on air. Here's the technique. Can you do this? Example, like I was talking about, like a sweep over finish or a Euro step or a counter to a finish. Example, you land in the lane and you're stopped. Is there a counter to this? Can you pivot away from pressure and take the shot? Can you perform an up and under and step through? I've got 5 of those. I've got 5 different 2-foot finishes. Okay, when you're driving with players on you, where's the defender? Well, see, first I asked them in the first stage that they encounter it, there is no defender, or there are no defenders. And then in the next stage, we're doing the same thing, but now there's a defender who's giving you contact that you've got to read and that type of thing, okay? It's a little more difficult to make the shot when there's someone there, even though they can't block your shot. It's a little more difficult. And then in the next stage, not only do you beat, this is where you need 3 players, not only do you beat your initial defender with a certain move that I'm asking for, but then you've got to beat a helping defender who helps in a certain way. They're either there early, or they're there late, or they're there, with space, without space. So it just goes up in complexity. So there's quite a bit of this you could do without a partner, and there's also a lot of it you could do if you just have a good imagination.
Well, that's part of the basketball part of it too. Like
right.
you got to have an imagination. Is there any advice you'd give a coach or a player out there with what we're living with right now?
In terms of stages, or just
or anything, both.
Oh, I think, well, for players, first I'll say players, then I'll say coaches. For players, this is a chance to do 2 things at once. I think you do have a chance to recharge your batteries. Okay.
I noticed that with my son when we got out of the tournament before they shut things down, and his knee was hurting him and blah, blah, blah. And he literally took like a week, 2 weeks off, and it's like, it's a brand new body. It was like perfect. It was like,
I think that's good.
I think it's great.
I think it's something many players don't consider, that recovery is an integral part of getting better.
Right.
You've got to schedule time off,
Well, and we'll get back to the question in a second, but I think there's a reason LeBron James still playing, because he takes care of his body. He knows how to stretch. He knows how to eat. He knows all those other quote unquote stages of recovery are important. And I don't think teenagers do a great job of that, to be honest with you.
Well, we weren't constructed, and I do believe that. I believe we were created. I don't think we were created to, in any area, especially physically, to go 60 miles an hour at all times.
Right.
It's almost a sprint recovery. I think it's the same way with learning in the classroom. I think you learn in intense spurts rather than long. Look, of course, I'm just speaking from my personal experience. I gave up on these all-night cram for test type study thing. It just didn't work. What worked for me was short, intense burst, and then go recover. This fit my basketball.
Yeah.
Because
I tell students that all the time. Like, I'd rather have you go out and do a 15-minute workout and then come in and then go do another one 3 hours later than go out and just mess around. It's the same with school. I said, set your timer on your phone, unplug everything, and go hard for 20 minutes.
Yep.
And then take an hour off or take 15 minutes off and then
That's
come
right.
back and do it again. It's easier on your body. It's easier on your brain. That's the way I work too. It's like, I'll just go. And then I'll go for a walk or I'll go watch a
Yep.
movie and then I'll come back and go again.
I work that way now.
Right.
You know, I am that way in my work, you know, and I found I just get more done rather than, you know, whipping myself to stay there. And, you know, I've spent 2 hours on this. Nah,
Right.
I don't
It's
know.
better to be focused. So let's go back to the original question with stages. So what are the two things that I think are the hardest for players? And you were on the player one, but.
Oh yeah. Well, look, this is a chance to sharpen the saw after you've recovered. Okay. And I also think there's plenty of recovery time because you can't go play, you know, you can't run up and down the floor for an hour, you know? So it's a chance to learn. I think some of the players, it's almost a unique time for most players to learn what you and I mean when we say it's time to sharpen the axe.
Hey, Coach. So happy you're enjoying the video. Make sure you subscribe and like, and then go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. It's a community of like-minded coaches that want to get better at coaching. Come over and join us, and let's head back to the video.
You can't go out in the woods as a lumberjack and just cut trees all day. Your axe gets dull.
Right.
You've got to stop, take time, sharpen the axe, go back, and you'll get more done. This is sharpen the axe time.
Yes. And here's my theory with the players is this can be a separator. Like kids are always looking for separators. If you want this to be, and the recovery part is important, but and I told my son this, I said, this can be a separator for you because there are people only playing Xbox and there are people that are taking this. I mean, this is a time where you can actually, you have time and you can outwork people at this point.
That's right. There's no excuses right now.
Right. It's not like you're being bombarded with all this homework and stuff. Yes.
And they could come back at completely different players. Totally different. You know something? The discipline to do this is also going to change them into different people. Forget the sport itself. The discipline of saying, okay, I got to go work on my stages today. I'm scheduling this time, you know, I got 30 minutes and I can do it, you know. Hey, 30 minutes is nothing, you know, but the discipline to actually set that time aside and go do it, yeah, that is something. And
I told my players, I said, one of the most valuable, the most valuable resource you have as a human being is time.
Yep.
It's time. It's finite. You and Bill Gates have the same 24 hours. You know, what you do with that time is important and it will waste away. I mean, we've been in quarantine for 4 weeks. Boom. It feels like it was yesterday we started. So
I know.
What about coaches? What do you think?
Coaches, this is why if you go to our website, betterbasketball.com.
So I went on when you were talking, and the blue thing on top is super easy. Now you limit the minimum number you can put in at 16 for a team.
Right. Now there is also originally this was the deal was the coach or the school would buy the stages program, and the first 15 players, you get 15 players plus a coach, you know,
right.
Is basically free. In other words, it's included in the price.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, we now have a small team option. In other words, let's say right now you've only got 5 players or 3 or, you know, or your daughter or son or something like that. You can get on the stages for like $4. I think it's $5 a month.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it the same spot you click?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I tell you what, I've got let me look at this.
Yeah, because I was looking and it's like I tried to make 16 go down and it wouldn't let me go down because I was thinking I was going to set one up. Yeah, I was going to set one up for my son and then later for my team. But
okay, here's where you go to. Let me find this for you. Let me see if it's in stages training. Where is this? Team management. I may just have to give you the URL.
Yeah, that's okay. You can do that. I can put it
Yeah,
down in the show notes because what I clicked is the COVID-19 response 30 days unlimited training for you on top. That's what I clicked on.
Well, you could just go straight to the URL, and it is stagesbasketball.com
Okay.
/product /stages system small teams.
Okay. So that's a lot for everyone that's listening right now.
It is.
So I'll put it down in the show notes. Coach will send it to me and I'll put it down in the show notes.
Well, I know that Dan's working on getting all this arranged on buttons. I mean, this is just something he's just now, just this past week released. So I don't even know if he's got the buttons on the website for it or not. We are scrambling to accommodate coaches. And like I say, it's almost like this was like Stages was, it's almost like we created it for this time right now.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That allows you to stay connected with your players, all your players. Hey, Steve, we've got some teams like, these organizations, AU organizations, that have 400, 500 players they put on the system, okay?
Right.
And some of the players they put on auto pass and just let them go at their own speed, and some they interact with. I mean, this is totally up to you. But right now, let me say this, coaches: if you bump up onto any kind of problem, tweak, like I say, we're building this as it's going down the road. Any kind of question you can't get answered, email the people at the following address, and they'll solve the problem. They're trained to do this. Tribe, TRIBE at betterbasketball.com.
Okay.
And they'll walk you through anything or set you up, or I can't find this, or hey, I'm trying to enter some extra players, it won't let them. They'll take care of it.
So what do you think coaches should be working on, leaving Stages for a second, right now? Like, what should a coach be doing right now?
This is why, by the way, we're offering, if you go on the website and look for all access passes, if you're not an all access member, I'm going to talk to people that are in a second. If you're not, instead of an annual fee, we're offering it for $19.99 a month.
Okay.
Okay. And you can come in and watch everything that's, as you know, Steve, I've got 19 years worth of stuff on there.
It's insane. It's too much. I have all access. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Okay.
Stuff,
Well, I would have loved to have offered that free, but we've got to kind of stay afloat through this as well. But we felt like, $20 for, as long as this lasts.
Right.
And this is truly going to be as long as we're in this quarantine. We want coaches to be able to go in and kind of.
Well, I think coaches have to work on their craft too. It's a little different than the players. You can give the players X, Y, Z, do this, blah, blah, blah. Let's communicate. The coaches have to work outside of their box too.
Yeah. Well, now they don't have an excuse. They've got more time, maybe not all the time, but they've got more time now, and they could go in and watch. Example, they could watch the redirect completely all the way through. No excuses there anymore. Or they could pick.
That will make I'm going to just disclaimer, that will make your head explode. But I mean, it's nothing against you,
I know.
Rick, but I mean, it's just that level is so high. I mean, my teams have been really good, and I don't even know with my great teams, my guys, that NBA guys, it's so hard to get to that top because I don't have my guys all year round. That's the problem.
Yeah.
If I had them all year round, I could do all the stages, all the levels.
Yeah.
I could level. That's
but it's not necessary.
But I have them from November to March for 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's it, or 6 days a week. That's all I got.
Right.
So that's the issue. Is like I just don't have them enough. If you're a college coach and you have them and you can work on that stuff and film set, all that stuff, it's just a different level. Yeah.
Well, now, by the way, I've got some. I said I was going to mention something for all access members already, or if you're going to join. For those that join at $19.99 a month, right now I'm releasing something weekly. So
Okay.
it's going to be showing up, in your vault.
Okay.
And what I'm doing is I'm using game footage clips to show you these things and dive deeper into some of these things. Like the one we released, I think yesterday or day before, is dribble penetration, draw defense, and drop dimes, okay, to the perimeter players. Now, you and I know that this is a deep dive into layer 4 of the read and react.
Right.
And I show why we circle move. I show with game clips why this works, why this doesn't. Like here's the defense helping. Here's why you move to this spot. Here's why we run the baseline if you're in the corner. I've had that from so many coaches, like, won't that screw up the drive to the goal? And I show game clip after game clip after game clip of layups from that cutter. It's really hard to understand, like on a board, like I've got.
Yeah. You got to see it. You got to see it.
Yeah, that's right. And so I've done this all with game clips, and they're only about 30 minutes long. Okay.
Okay.
And then like next week, you're going to see the same thing, but all the reactions of post players to dribble penetration, from basic to advanced circle move slides. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm going to continue that and have something once a week for everybody in terms of game clips where I can. Okay. I've got access to them, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. I released one 2 weeks ago called Combo Quick Hitters. A lot of quick hitters are one action.
Yeah,
type.
You need multiple reads.
That's right. You need to occupy all 5 defenders, right?
Yeah.
Well, I picked these instead. Anybody can make those up. What I did was I had stored great combinations that I'd seen during the season in game clips, and I pulled all those up and I showed them happening in a game and why they work and why the options off of them work, because you're occupying.
And did you draw over the top of the screen then, or did you just voice it?
Excellent. I did both. I would show the game clip and freeze it and show arrows and all that. But then I would also show the clip and then like go to my board.
Okay.
Like this, and I'd go back and forth.
Hey, and how did you draw on the clip?
Well, I got an editing station. Final Cut Pro allows me to put
all that
like
stuff on top. Okay. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's not perfect. It's not like ESPN. But,
those guys are like.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have $500,000 to get the latest
to do that. All right. Any parting words for coaches or players, Coach? Appreciate you coming on too. And
thanks for having me, Stephen. I want to complete what I was saying about coaches, that this too is it's an unprecedented time for you to dig deep, and maybe you got time to think a little bit outside of the box. I think that's what would help you if you came into my website and began to look around at all the courses, is just a chance to stimulate your imagination and ask yourself, why do we do what we do? Why do we construct practice plans the way we do? Why do we train the way we do? Why do we, is it really necessary to have a post player?
Right.
I mean, there's just a lot of things I'd like coaches to.
You have to question what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like literally, I've been coaching 30 years. I changed about 3 or 4 years ago how I did my practices. So I literally run my practices like a game now.
There you go.
We have a beginning part. We have a first half. We have a halftime. We have a second half, because we play halves in Wisconsin. And I have a post game. And it's literally broken up into those chunks, and different things go into those. Because what do you do? What are we preparing them for? We're preparing them to play.
Absolutely.
So how I do it is broken. The 2 halves tend to be more free flowing. The other things tend to be more cerebral, or warm ups or all this kind of stuff. So I think you have to think outside the box.
And Steve, your evolution, your growth began with you starting to ask yourself a question.
Right.
There's a quote, and I can't remember who this is from, that says the only true barrier to knowledge is the assumption that you already know.
Right.
So,
And I don't. You can see all the
right.
books. Look, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
You know, I got out of coaching at one time. I got out of coaching just for a couple of years and just couldn't stand it. And when I came back, I learned a lot there in business at that time.
Right.
And when about myself and that kind of stuff. And when I came back, I told myself, this time I'm going to assume that I know nothing about this game. I'm not going to base this on my experience as a player or my experience as a coach. What would I do if I knew nothing about this game and I'm going to have to coach it? Well, you would begin to study people who are successful.
Right.
And you would look for underlying, factors that they all have in common. And I'm not saying you become a copycat, but you draw on
mentors. You look for mentors.
Principles.
That's what I tell my son. My son's going off to Middlebury in the fall, hopefully. And I tell him, I said, there's a couple things. First of all, when you're young, always look for, first of all, people want to help young people. Like,
right.
They don't necessarily want to help you and I, if we call them, but they want to help young people. Yep. They want to mentor them. So find a mentor, find somebody that's been successful.
Yep.
And you have to reach out. Like I tell him, when you're at school, he goes to a school of 2,000. He's going to go to a college. I say, you should try to meet a new person every day, interact with them, learn something, because you'll learn something from them. It will be a two-way street. They will learn from you. You will learn from them.
If they could learn this one phrase, because I have never been turned down on this. Steve, I'm experiencing such and such. Could you help me?
Right.
I've never been turned down, Steve.
No.
Hey, I've called up people I barely know. I've called up people that I don't know that an acquaintance knows. And I've said, hey, Joe, Steve Collins and I were talking, Steve, and they said, yeah. And I was talking to him about such and such. And he said, I ought to ask you. And he said, what? Well, I'm just trying to find help on how to beat a trapping 1-3-1 zone. And Steve said, you did. I was just wondering, do you have time? Could you help me? I have never been turned down.
I know.
If you genuinely ask them for their help, I just haven't been turned down.
I know people want to help other people.
Yeah.
Because they get something out of it too. Like I get something when I help people, I get something out of it because it makes me feel like, okay, I'm, what
I've made more friends that way.
Right.
Just by asking for their help.
Yes. Yes.
And not helping them. Now that will, but asking them to help me, and you wind up building a great relationship. And you can do that in any area of your life.
Right. And I think that's the takeaway for coaches too. It's like, I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years. I feel like it's like my first month kind of thing. Like I'm always, you know what I'm saying? I'm always like, why is it that? Because if I was coaching the same way I was coaching 30 years ago, now I wouldn't be coaching.
Right. Well,
I'd be unemployed.
My last webinar. In fact, I want to throw this in. Boy, I almost forgot. I'm holding free webinars at 1:00 Eastern Standard Time every day.
Okay.
And I put the link up on my Twitter account and Better Basketball's Twitter account.
Okay.
My Twitter account is at Rick Torbett.
Okay.
Better Basketball is BTR Basketball.
Okay.
But also you can email tribe@betterbasketball.com and ask them to put you on the newsletter, and that way we'll notify you. But for right now, it's the same link every day at 1. I'm doing Monday through Saturdays. Like today, I have a guest, Courtney Burns, the women's coach at Mitchell College. Okay. Let's see. Monday, I've got Steve Wassican from Maine, who is both an assistant coach in college and also a head coach for an AAU program. So he's got a foot in both. I really like that. He can speak to both.
Yeah.
And then I've got TJ Rosine, the head coach at Emmanuel College, Ben's Emmanuel College on Tuesday. And I send out like a week schedule ahead of time. And we're just bouncing around trying to answer a lot of Q&A by any coaches that tune in.
Okay.
And by the way, I did one yesterday on a coach, because you reminded me of this, who's 30-year coach like yourself, Steve. He stumbled on the read and react. He was getting a little burned out, as you and I know at this age. And he said he stumbled on the read and react 3 years ago, made the commitment, started putting in first year. He was 8-16. The second year, I think he was right around 500. And this past season, he was 24-3 and in the state tournament before they shut it down, you know?
Yeah. It takes a while. This is not a quick read and react is not a quick fix.
No. And this is a great time to
Sorry, I couldn't.
sorry about that.
That's all right.
This is a good time to weigh that and consider it, you know? Can I make this commitment to a process that could change everything, you know? But he was talking just like you reminded me of him, is like, I just look at things differently now. It's like I've got a fresh take on my career as a coach.
Right.
It's just good to see.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, thank you for taking time today talking to me. So I appreciate it.
Always, Steve. I'll do this once a week if you want.
I love doing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know how we can help. Make sure you join teachhoops.com up above and down below. It is a great resource. It's a community. It's mentoring from me, one-on-one calls, office hours. You'll get my personal email address, lots of resources, tons of resources, thousands of resources to check out. I've been there. I've experienced everything you have, won lots of championships, but I want to help you do the same thing. So let me help you. Go over and check it out, teachhoops.com.